I want you to pause for a moment, truly pause, and take a deep breath. Because there's something I need to say to you, not as generic advice, but as a whisper from the depths of my heart to you, the one reading these words. You know, every day, in some way, you are becoming richer. Quietly, without rush, but surely. Maybe you don't see it in your bank account just yet, but I can clearly see it unfolding in your thoughts, in your behavior, in the growing sense of confidence within you. This isn't luck. It's the result of a journey you began long ago. The day you chose to believe you could become a richer, stronger, more powerful version of yourself. I'm speaking to you, the one wondering if you're capable enough, if you're on the right path. The answer is yes. I see it in every word you've transformed from negative to positive. I see it in every moment you chose silence over complaining, gratitude over judgment. That is the first sign of true wealth, when you no longer just hope for a better life, but start living as if it's already true. I see you living in prosperity, whether you realize it or not because you own everything yet, but because you started aligning your frequency with the vibration of success. You've begun to expect good things to happen. You no longer believe everything is against you. On the contrary, you're starting to notice signals. Small doors opening, opportunities you might have overlooked before, simply because you didn't believe you were worthy of them. I say this to you because I've stood where you're standing. I know the feeling of doubt, of uncertainty, and the heaviness when things don't go your way. But it's in those exact moments when you still choose to move forward, still tell yourself each day, I'm becoming richer, that you are transforming everything. You can't see a tree growing by the hour, yet it grows. And so do you. Do you know why today is a special day? Because today you didn't give up. Because today you've read this far, which means you're searching for a deep confirmation of something you feel, but haven't yet named. So let me make it clear. You are becoming the wealthy person you've always dreamed of being. Every word you whisper to yourself, every repeated action, even when no one is watching, every thought you choose to nurture, they're all converging into a new reality. A reality where success is no longer distant, but a state you are living in with every moment. I see you walking today with more steadiness. I see that you know you have what it takes to face the challenges ahead, and I see you learning to trust in your own potential, an unlimited potential. That doesn't come from the outside. It's not granted by society. It comes from you, from within you. And when you begin to acknowledge that, the world around you will respond like a mirror. You'll start to see money coming to you in unexpected ways. You'll see your relationships shift, negative people fading away, supportive ones drawing near. You'll find yourself working more effectively, more creatively, more confidently, because you're broadcasting a new frequency, the frequency of wealth, abundance, and success. And this world always echoes back exactly the frequency you emit. I'm not saying this just to cheer you up for a few fleeting moments and then leave you to your old doubts. I say this because I know that once you've touched that feeling, that knowing I call being richer every day, you'll never want to go back to the way things were. You'll begin to choose more carefully the words you speak, the thoughts you keep, the actions you repeat, because you'll know each tiny choice is a brick in the castle of your success. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need anyone to believe in you. You just need to believe in yourself. And you are doing that. Every day, in how you wake up, how you go to work, how you respond to what may seem like ordinary events, you are becoming richer. I see it in you, and I believe you will go farther than you ever imagined. So right now, say it to yourself, not as a forced affirmation, but as a truth in the making. I am becoming richer every day. Let that sentence sink into every cell of your being. Because when you live as though it's real, this world, which is always listening, has no choice but to make it real. Are you ready for a tomorrow richer than today? Because I can already see it beginning in this very moment within you. Have you noticed? When you keep a positive state of mind, things somehow just go right. The call you needed connects at the perfect moment. The opportunity you thought you missed circles back. Someone unexpected offers just the words you needed to hear. That's not coincidence. That's a sign you're in alignment with the flow of prosperity. I call it frequency alignment. When you vibrate high, you attract things that also vibrate high. And the best part? You are completely in control of your own frequency. I'm talking to you, the one who may have thought you had to work endlessly and sacrifice for years to earn just a fraction of abundance. But I say this so you understand. Prosperity doesn't have to come with suffering. It comes with clarity, belief, and the ability to allow yourself to receive. You don't need to be more deserving. You only need to acknowledge that you already are. And when you begin to live as though you are already wealthy, in your spirit, in your kindness, in your thinking, the material world will find its way to match that inner truth. I want you to feel this like a soft breeze passing through your mind. You are living in the flow of prosperity. Not tomorrow, not some distant future, but right now, in this very moment. You may not yet see everything unfolding, but I want you to know that everything you feel, think, and do is connecting you to a vast stream of energy, the energy of abundance. It doesn't arrive like a crashing wave. It moves quietly, gently, patiently, soaking into every thought you plant, every expectation you hold, every belief you tenderly nurture. And then, one day, you suddenly realize that all things good are blossoming around you at once. I share this with you because I once believed prosperity was something far away, out of reach, reserved for a chosen few. But I was wrong. Prosperity is not a destination. It is a current, and you are already in it. The moment you begin to believe you are worthy, the moment you expect good things instead of doubting them, is the moment you shift into the universe's flow, where what you need starts arriving more easily, more swiftly, and more abundantly than you ever imagined. Let me share with you an image I always carry in my heart. Imagine a river flowing through a forest. That water doesn't choose whom it reaches. It doesn't say, I'll only flow to the one who works hardest. It flows to anyone who opens themselves to it. And prosperity is just like that river. It doesn't care who you are, where you're from, or how many times you've failed. It only waits for your readiness. And I see you, right now, beginning to open. I see you no longer rejecting the good. I see you replacing the question, can I, with, how can I be ready to receive? I'm not telling you to stop taking action. I'm not saying sit back and wait for money to fall into your lap. I'm speaking to something deeper, your inner state. When you act from belief instead of fear, results come faster and last longer. When you choose the thought, I am living in prosperity, every choice, every decision will be guided by the mindset of someone already wealthy, not just in money, but in vision, character, and gratitude. And you know what's most magical? Each day, that current of prosperity grows stronger when you practice gratitude. When you give thanks for what you already have, no matter how small, you send a powerful signal to the universe that you're ready for more. Gratitude is a sacred invitation for prosperity to flow into your life. Try it. Tomorrow morning, as you wake up, gently say to yourself, thank you for letting me live in abundance again today. And you'll begin to notice everything starts to shift, even the smallest things. I'm sharing this with you not to give a momentary thrill, but to help you live a true transformation. You don't need to chase abundance because you're already in it. You only need to recognize it and choose to keep believing in it. Each day, in every thought, every word, every decision, ask yourself, is this aligned with someone living in prosperity? And if the answer is yes, go do it. Because you no longer live in lack, you are living in fullness, and you are learning to enjoy it wisely. You are not just someone striving for wealth. You are part of the flow of prosperity. It is always here, always waiting for you, and I, who have seen that light within you, am simply here to remind you. You don't need to become anything else. You only need to allow yourself to be what you already are. And that right there is the moment you truly become rich. Have you ever thought that in order to become a millionaire, you need a big turning point in life? A lucky deal, a powerful connection, or a rare golden opportunity? If you've believed that, I completely understand, because I used to think the same. But one day, as I sat quietly and looked deeply within myself, I realized something. Everything I needed to step into the world of wealth had always been inside me. And the same is true for you. I'm telling you this not to sell you a vague dream, but to help you recognize a truth that has always been there. The millionaire mindset is not something you learn from the outside. It's something you awaken from within. You may not have $1 million in your bank account yet, but if you start thinking like a millionaire, acting like one, and making decisions like one, then wealth will no longer be a distant dream. It will become an inevitable result. I'm speaking to you, the one seeking a sustainable path to financial growth, the one wondering why all your effort hasn't led to a breakthrough. What you need isn't a big opportunity. It's a new mindset. The millionaire mindset isn't defined by how much money you make. It's in how you perceive money, value, and yourself. It's in believing that money is a tool to serve life, not define who you are. It's in your ability to make decisions based on long-term potential, not short-term convenience. It's in your courage to say no to the easy path in order to choose what's right, even when it's harder at first. I'm telling you this because I know you're beginning to feel the shift. You're no longer content just working to survive. You've started asking bigger questions. How can my assets work for me? How can I not just earn money, but create lasting value? And I'll tell you this is the beginning of the millionaire mindset. It's when you stop chasing money and start building systems that make money come toward you. Do you know what's unique about truly wealthy people? They don't let emotions dictate their financial decisions. They don't spend to fill emotional voids. They don't earn more just to spend more. Instead, they treat money as a partner, a companion to be understood, respected, and used wisely. And I believe you're starting to think this way too. I see you, the one sitting here reading these words, already making small but significant shifts. You've started caring about money management. You think carefully before spending. You're learning to delay gratification in order to invest in your future. You're no longer proud of spending everything by the end of the month, but instead take pride in saving and investing strategically. That's not stinginess. That's the mindset of wealth. The millionaire mindset is also the ability to maintain gratitude, even when you haven't seen the results yet. I know there are moments you doubt, times when you're tired because you haven't yet reached your goal. But in those very moments, when you continue to practice gratitude, thank life for the lessons, for the failures, for another day to try again, you are strengthening the roots of long-term prosperity. I'm not asking you to just meditate and hope money arrives. I'm talking about a quiet revolution within you, where you start making financial plans, setting clear goals, tracking your cash flow, and investing in yourself relentlessly. You begin to realize that high income doesn't guarantee wealth. It's how you use and think about money that makes the real difference. And you know what's fascinating? When the millionaire mindset activates within you, you'll see that you don't need to change the whole world to become wealthy. You just need to change the way you see the world. One small idea can become a large stream of income. One simple connection can open unexpected doors. One shift in the way you talk to yourself each morning can raise your energy and shape your entire day. That's the power of mindset, the power you already have. So today, I'm not here to teach you how to get rich. I'm here to awaken what's already inside you. I'm here to remind you that you don't need to search outside for the secret to success. That secret lives within you, hidden in the way you think when faced with challenges. It's in the decisions you make when no one's watching. It's in your choice to keep going, even when results haven't shown up yet. The millionaire mindset isn't some mystical force. It's a state of being, a habit, a choice made again and again. And you, the one reading these final lines, are ready to live like someone who is truly wealthy. Not because you have it all, but because you've begun to think like a true millionaire. You don't need anyone to validate your wealth. When your mindset has transformed, the world will have no choice but to acknowledge it, because you are living like someone who knows they deserve abundance, and that is the very first sign of lasting wealth. I want you to listen closely to this, because it may change how you see the world and how you see yourself. Money comes to you easily when you allow it. Not when you work yourself to exhaustion, not when you prove yourself enough, not when you become perfect, but when you, yes, you, open your heart, open your mind, and create an inner space where wealth is no longer something you must fight for, but something you are ready to receive. I've witnessed this not once, but time and again in the lives of people who've learned one vital lesson. Abundance doesn't begin on the outside. It begins with inner permission. You may be living a life full of effort. Maybe you run from morning to night, managing everything, holding every responsibility, working harder than most, yet money still arrives in drops. Slowly, inconsistently, or appears only to disappear again. And you wonder, why am I trying so hard but not getting the results I expect? I say this not to make you feel lacking, but to help you look in another direction. Because the issue isn't a lack of effort. It lies in the deep beliefs you carry about money, about your worth, about how much you truly allow prosperity to exist in your life. I once believed that to have money, I had to trade everything for it. My time, my health, my happiness. But then I realized, money doesn't come to those who work the most. It comes to those who align with its frequency. And what is that frequency? It's the belief that you are worthy. It's the willingness to receive. It's the feeling of lightness when you think about money instead of stress or guilt. And I'm telling you, the one reading these words, that you can shift that frequency right now with one powerful act: permission. Permission doesn't mean sitting still and daydreaming. It's an act of inner courage. It's when you pause and honestly ask yourself, do I believe I deserve to live in wealth that feels light, easy, and natural? If the answer is no, don't worry. That's your beginning, the beginning of realizing you no longer have to punish yourself, reject yourself, or downplay your value. Because if you believe money only comes through hardship, your subconscious will create hardships to match that belief. But if you believe you can become wealthy through wisdom, through positive energy, through trust and right action, you will create an entirely different reality. I once heard someone say, money is like water. It flows where there are no rocks of fear and limitation. And I see that image fitting you perfectly. Because what's blocking the flow of money isn't the outside world. It's the stones you've held in your heart. The fear of not having enough, the guilt of having more than others, the envy of others' success. When you begin to remove those stones, gently but decisively, you'll see that money starts finding its way to you, softly like the breeze, naturally like breath. I know you've heard people say you have to work twice or three times as hard to get ahead, but today I invite you to try something different. A smarter, deeper approach. Instead of running faster, stop and ask if you're even running in the right direction. Instead of striving to prove something, ask, do I truly believe I don't need to prove anything to deserve wealth? Because real prosperity begins when you feel safe in your abundance. And that safety comes from believing this: you're not taking someone else's share. You're not in a fight. You don't need anyone's permission to live in prosperity. You only need your own. Give yourself permission to spend money without guilt, to receive money without feeling indebted, to live in abundance for no reason other than being you, and that is enough. When you live in that permission, money will find its way to you through the most unexpected paths. A sudden idea, a collaboration offer, a door that opens just because you dared to say, "I believe." I'm not promising magic. I'm speaking about a small but powerful shift in how you see yourself. Because when you see yourself as someone ready to receive, the world responds by sending you exactly what you've opened up to. And that doesn't mean you'll sit idle. On the contrary, when you allow money in, you'll find yourself taking action naturally, with joy, with creativity, with motivation born from inspiration, not pressure. You'll work because you want to, not because you have to. And as a result, money will come not just faster, but more sustainably. Today, if you ask me where to begin, I'll say, begin with a simple yet powerful phrase. I allow money to flow into my life with ease. Repeat it silently whenever doubt creeps in. Say it to yourself like someone who is leading the way, not because you're forcing belief, but because you're rebuilding it. And day by day, you'll start to see it clearly. Money was never far away. It was only waiting for your yes, for you to open the door to yourself. Are you ready? Because I already see it. You are beginning to allow, and that is the first turning point toward a life richer than ever before. There are things that don't show on the surface, yet they shape your entire life. They're not loud, not obvious, and often overlooked beneath the glare of external achievements, but it's exactly these, the small steps, the quiet choices, the unseen inner decisions that are steadily enriching you day by day. Because sustainable wealth has never been just about money. It begins from within, from how you treat your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, and your discipline. You may have thought that changing your life requires a dramatic event, a golden opportunity, or some miraculous moment. But the truth is the opposite. Life doesn't transform through grand gestures. It changes through the small things you do when no one is watching. A morning you choose to wake up early and read instead of scrolling your phone. A moment you choose to listen patiently rather than react. A decision to say no to mindless spending. These seemingly ordinary acts over time become the foundation of inner wealth. And from that, true life abundance. No one sees the inner shifts in you the way you do. No one feels as clearly as you the changes in how you value yourself, how you define your direction, how you relate to money. Each time you choose calm over anger, persistence over quitting, saving over instant gratification, you accumulate invisible wealth. It's not wealth that comes from luck. It's wealth with roots. A kind of wealth no one can take away because it's part of you. When you learn to live with intention, every step you take stops being random. It becomes an action with weight. You might not notice it right away, but from that consistency, you begin building a foundation that later, when opportunity arrives, you'll be strong enough to receive. It's not the opportunity that makes you successful. It's you, with your quiet inner strength built over time, that turns opportunity into reality. And that doesn't come from the outside. It comes from the small steps you've persistently taken. People often ask, why do I keep trying and still not succeed? The answer usually isn't lack of talent. It's lack of inner stability. When your mind isn't steady, you're easily swayed by everything outside. Praise, comparisons, pressure, temptation. But once you've built inner wealth, you no longer need to prove anything. You don't need to do something just to be called successful. You become success from within. And then the outside world begins to align with who you've become. What's strange is this: true wealth doesn't come from how much you earn, but from how you use what you have. Someone with $10 who nurtures inner value, maintains awareness, discipline, and gratitude is far richer than someone with 100 who lets emotion drive every action. A grounded soul attracts and retains wealth. An empty one loses it like wind slipping through fingers. And the most beautiful part is, you don't need anyone's approval for your journey of inner richness. No one but you can fully feel the layers of change unfolding. The maturity in your choices, the peace in your reactions, the clarity in your goals. These are all signs that you're on the right path. No need to rush. Just stay steady Every small step today is a foundational brick for a stronger, more prosperous version of yourself tomorrow. Finally, if ever you feel like you haven't done anything big, remind yourself that value isn't found in speed, but in depth. One step in the right direction, no matter how slow, is better than 100 in the wrong one. And you, the one who keeps adjusting, learning, striving to live with purpose, you are growing richer with every hour, every day. Not in the way society measures, but in the way life itself remembers. The world doesn't need you to become someone else. It only needs you to keep going, to keep choosing consciously, and to keep building a foundation no one may see, but everyone will feel through your eyes, your actions, and the results you create. Because every step you take today not only brings you closer to your goals, it deepens the roots of someone quietly, but powerfully, becoming wealthy from within. Some people spend their entire lives chasing success, as if it were a rare gift granted to a lucky few. They stand on the sidelines of life, hoping something will arrive to change their destiny, a sudden opportunity, a powerful connection, a lucky break. But the years pass, and they remain in the same place, watching others succeed, whispering a quiet sigh, if only that had happened to me. And I say this to you, the one rising silently, that you don't have to wait. You are the one who creates success, not the one waiting for it to appear. No success ever falls into the lap of someone unprepared. On the surface, it may seem like things come easily to others, but you don't see the deep layers of preparation, the quiet decisions, the steady persistence when no one is cheering. Success doesn't knock on the doors of those who only hope. It shows up for those who consciously build it, through awareness, through action, and through unwavering belief in the value they bring. I know you've had times of waiting for someone to recognize your potential, waiting for a door to open, waiting for a sign from life that you're good enough to begin. But you know what? The moment you stop waiting and start acting is the moment you enter the atmosphere of those who create results. Success doesn't arrive with applause. It shows up when you consistently do the right thing for long enough until what you've planted begins to grow. Not by luck, but because you planted the right seed at the right time in the right soil. Look back and you'll see every real achievement you've ever had began with a choice you made on your own. Maybe it was a hard choice, a risky decision, an action no one guaranteed. But you did it, and from that, a new path opened. So if today you're facing uncertainty, don't wait for the world to pave the way for you. Be the one who lays the first bricks. Even if they're small, even if they're slow, even if no one notices. Success doesn't need to be loud. It just needs your responsibility. Your responsibility to your dream, to your energy, to your commitment. No one else can live your life for you. No one else can walk your path. And no one else can make you great. If you don't want it, don't believe it, and don't act on it. Successful people aren't those who get more chances. They're those who turn whatever they have into leverage, no matter how small. I've seen people rise from nothing. No money, no connections, no background. But they had one thing, the belief that they had the right to build their own lives. They didn't wait for a miracle. They learned, they failed, they adjusted, and they kept going. Every failure didn't set them back, it sharpened them. And you, the one reading this, carry that same potential. You don't need anyone to give you permission. You were granted that right the moment you believed you could. The road to success isn't always a straight line. Sometimes it's unexpected turns and dark paths you must navigate alone. But in each of those steps, if you're the one moving forward, then you're rewriting your destiny. You may not see the results immediately, but remember, transformation is not always loud. Sometimes it begins with a quiet decision you hold firm, that from now on, you are no longer waiting for success. You are creating it. Every morning you rise earlier to learn, you're creating. Every time you say no to what's easy and choose what's right, you're creating. Every time you stand back up after a silent failure, you are creating. Every intentional action, even without applause, is a bold declaration to the universe that you are the creator of your own life. And because of that, the universe has no choice but to begin rearranging everything in your favor. No one is born a winner. People become winners through the choices they make. To not give up, to not delay, to not blame. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need to decide from now on you're done waiting. You'll begin, no matter how small, how uncertain, how imperfect. Because when you start acting, you activate the flow of luck, opportunity, and results. Life doesn't respond to what you wish, it responds to what you do. So if today you're still asking, when will success come to me? Change the question to, what did I do today to move closer to my success? If each day you can answer that question with action, then there's no reason success won't find you. Because it's not something out of reach. It's the natural result of someone living with purpose, with commitment, and with belief in their ability to build their own path. You don't need luck. You need the right choices, and you don't need to be chosen. You just need to choose yourself. Choose to rise, choose to act, choose to become the one who creates success, not the one who waits for it to knock. And when you live like that, you'll see success doesn't arrive by surprise. It arrives right on time because you were ready, you acted, and you became someone who truly deserves it. There is a quiet yet deeply profound truth that few people believe the first time they hear it. The universe doesn't respond to what you wish for. It responds to how much you believe in yourself. Confidence is not just a fleeting emotion when you look in the mirror or after doing something well. Confidence is an energetic state, a subtle frequency you emit each time you choose, act, and face life with inner steadiness. And the miracle is, when you truly live in that state, the universe begins to answer you with results. Concrete, visible, and sometimes so extraordinary they defy logic. You don't have to shout to prove you're confident. You don't need to explain it in words or showcase achievements. You only need to carry the energy of belief in who you are. Not too much, not with arrogance. Just enough that every step you take feels grounded. And when that happens, you'll notice something repeating. Things begin to flow more easily. Opportunities arrive right on time. The right people walk into your life. Closed doors suddenly crack open. That's not coincidence. That's a precise response from the universe to the inner consistency you're maintaining. I'm not talking about surface-level confidence, not the kind of loud talk that masks fear. I'm talking about quiet confidence, the kind where you don't need to say much, but everything you do sends a signal. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. And I believe I'm worthy of the good things coming my way. When you live like that, you no longer rely on others to believe in you or validate you because you've already done that for yourself. You may have lived with self-doubt, wondering if you're good enough, worthy enough, special enough to receive what you desire, but here's the thing. Every time you doubt yourself, you're sending out a signal that says, I'm not ready. And the universe, which doesn't lie, will match that frequency exactly. Not because it's against you, but because it's simply honest about the energy you're putting out. The good news? You can change that frequency, not by forcing positivity, but by nurturing confidence from its roots. Confidence doesn't come from results. Results come from confidence. You don't need to succeed first in order to believe in yourself. It's the other way around. Believe first, and that belief will guide the right actions, the clear choices, and eventually, the outcomes you've been longing for. It may sound backward, but those who understand this and live it are the ones who shape life on their own terms. They don't wait for the world to shift, they shift themselves first, and the world follows in alignment. I've seen people who weren't born into privilege, who weren't louder or flashier than others, but they stood out for one reason. They believed in their worth. They walked into rooms without fanfare, yet their presence was felt. They didn't talk endlessly about what they would do, they simply did it. With consistency, with groundedness, and eventually their results spoke for them. That's the kind of confidence you can't borrow. You can't fake it. It's built over time, through honesty with yourself, and through choosing not to abandon yourself when clarity hasn't yet arrived, and you, the one on a journey to uncover your truth, you carry that same resource within you. Every time you choose to believe in yourself instead of waiting for external validation, you're laying a strong foundation for lasting abundance. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, even slightly, and keep your gaze steady, you're sending a silent but powerful message to the universe. I'm ready. I believe. I will keep moving. And you'll see, even in the smallest of ways, that the universe always hears such sincere signals. If today the results don't look like what you hoped for, don't rush to blame yourself. Instead, ask, what am I emitting each day? Am I walking with belief or doubt? Am I acting from gratitude or from fear of lack? Then begin to adjust, not to impress anyone else, but to live aligned with your true potential. Because confidence isn't something you need to find. It's something you must allow to reawaken within you, like a flame that's always been there waiting for your breath of belief. There is no perfect formula for success, but there is one unshakable rule. The energy you send out determines the results you receive, and the strongest, clearest, most magnetic energy you can emit is confidence. Not perfection, not titles, just the gentle light in your eyes when you know, I am worthy of good things, not for any reason other than my complete and present existence. So from today onward, don't wait for someone else to inspire you. Be your own inspiration by walking with steady posture, choosing with clarity, and acting with quiet trust in yourself. Say it without speaking. When I believe in myself, the entire universe believes with me, and you'll see, not through theory, but through lived experience, that when you're confident, the universe truly responds with results. There are things we unconsciously learn early in life. No one teaches them directly, yet they become foundational to how we live. One of those things is the belief that we must ask for permission to succeed, permission to dream big, permission to be different, permission to excel. We grow up in a world where success often feels like something granted by circumstance, by the approval of others, or by conditions we believe must be met before we have the right to rise. But there comes a moment like this one when you must be reminded of something deceptively simple but profoundly important. You don't need permission to succeed. You only need to choose. Choice is the beginning of all transformation. Not luck, not outside validation, but an internal decision, a quiet yet powerful declaration that you will live by your own standards, that you will no longer wait for someone to agree with your dream, and that you won't trade your potential just to fit into others' expectations. And when you choose like that, even in silence, you step onto a different path, the path of someone who builds their own destiny instead of hoping to be accepted. Success doesn't require you to be chosen. It demands that you choose yourself again and again, even when others don't understand, don't agree, or turn away. Because your journey isn't meant to please the world, it's meant to let you live fully as who you are. When you choose to break free from your old limits, you send a powerful signal to life. I am ready to receive what's good. Not because someone granted it, but because I chose to believe I deserve it. Maybe you've waited for someone to see you, call your name, offer you an opportunity. But if you look back, you'll notice every defining moment in your life began with an inner choice, a quiet but firm voice that said, I won't wait anymore. That's when you truly began to live. And that's when success began to arrive, not with fanfare or urgency, but in a way that matched the person you were becoming. You don't need permission to live larger. You don't need a perfect resume, a title, or public recognition to begin expressing your full potential. Everything you need is already within you: awareness, clarity, and the ability to choose again. And that is something no one can take away. You don't need permission to rise after falling, to begin again even if it feels late, to change direction even when others don't understand. You only need to choose. And a choice made in full honesty and courage has the power to redirect an entire life. I know there are moments when you ask yourself, am I enough? Enough knowledge, enough courage, enough foundation to do something great. But the real question isn't, am I enough? It's, am I willing to choose? Because being enough has never been the starting point. It's the outcome of walking the path you choose, day by day, step by step. No one begins fully equipped, but those who choose to show up become enough. In their own way, in their own time, through practice and growth, there's a deep freedom in choosing without needing approval. That's when you stop performing to prove something. You stop trying to satisfy every external gaze and start living in truth with your inner calling. And in that shift, you don't just become stronger, you become lighter. And that lightness becomes the energy that draws opportunities, relationships, and even luck. Not because you chase it, but because you become a natural magnet for success. Imagine if you didn't need anyone's permission to do what you believe is right. Imagine if you trusted that you didn't need any special conditions beyond your daily choice to live fully, to stop waiting, to act without delay. Your life would feel lighter, not because challenges disappear, but because you'd know exactly where you're going and why you're on that path. External obstacles are often reflections of internal hesitation, and when your choice is clear, those barriers begin to dissolve. Success is not something you ask for, it's a state you step into by choosing to live in alignment with your own values. You don't need permission to be different. You don't need permission to dream big, to think deeply, or to love life in your own way. Every time you choose not to silence your voice, not to shrink your dreams just to fit in, not to postpone your leap for fear of judgment, you create a new space in your life, a space where you're no longer a seeker of approval, but a creator of purpose. And you know what? When you start choosing yourself without waiting, the world begins to respond, as if it had always been waiting for that moment. Doors open, the right people appear, opportunities find their way to you. Not because you've changed everything about yourself, but because you've stopped hiding who you truly are. You've stepped forward, and so life steps toward you in return. So if today you're waiting for a sign, let this be it. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission to succeed. Choose, and then fully live that choice. No need for noise, no need to rush. Just walk forward each day with the quiet certainty, I don't need permission to become the most radiant version of myself. You only need to choose, and that is more than enough. Amid all the chaos, the moments when you feel left behind, and the days that seem to repeat without change, there is something you must remember. You are living in a world of infinite opportunities. No, this isn't poetic exaggeration. It's not a temporary comfort. It's a truth. The only thing is, those opportunities don't always show up in the spotlight. They rarely knock loudly. They often come in quiet forms, a casual conversation, a fleeting idea during a peaceful morning, or a moment when you choose intuition over fear. And what makes the difference isn't whether you're lucky, it's whether your heart is still open enough to see them. This world has never truly limited you. What limits you is the way you see the world. If you believe that opportunity is reserved for a few with special conditions, you'll unknowingly shut the door on all that's waiting for you. But when you believe the universe doesn't play favorites, that you have the same right to access goodness as anyone else, you begin to shift your energy. And that energy becomes the very signal that draws opportunity to you, not because you wished for it, but because you're finely tuned to the right frequency. I'm not saying everything will be easy, but I am saying that in every situation a door is open if you're willing to see with new eyes. You might not spot it right away. It might not look like what you expected, but it's there, hidden behind a bitter failure, tucked into a disappointing no, or buried in an experience that felt like regression, when in truth, it was a backward step to gain momentum. And I believe that if you're reading these words, something in you is already shifting, sensing that something greater is waiting. You've probably heard people say that opportunity is something you create. And that's true, but only when you understand that creation isn't about force or rigid effort. Creation happens when you hold yourself in readiness, mentally, emotionally, and physically. When you approach each day as if it could be the day that changes everything, not with pressure, but with a heart wide open to receive whatever good may come. The world moves like a vast web of energy. Every thought, every emotion, every action you take sends out a signal. And those signals connect you to different possibilities. When you live in fear, you align with limitation. When you live in hope, you begin to touch opportunity. But when you live in firm belief that you are worthy, that you are capable, that you are not born to play small, then the world opens in ways you never imagined. Look around you. Never in human history have we had more paths for growth. You can learn anything with a small device in your hand. You can connect with people across the world. You can build a career without following a traditional path. Yet ironically, in a world full of opportunity, many still feel stuck. Why? Because they don't truly believe opportunity belongs to them. They see others succeed and think, that's not for me. And that, right there, is the thought that blocks all potential flow. If there's one thing you could do today to change your future, it's this. Stop doubting your right to choose. You have the right to start again, to choose differently, to move forward, to explore something new, to retry what once failed, to believe you are not bound by your past. When you choose, you don't change the world, you change your perspective. And from that new view, you'll begin to see possibilities waiting to be named. No one has to grant you permission to live a life of choice. You don't need external approval to feel worthy. The moment you start living with intention and full presence, you become a natural magnet for what aligns. Opportunities aren't always loud. Sometimes they arrive quietly. An idea while doing the dishes, a sudden burst of inspiration on a walk, a question from a stranger that makes you reconsider everything. And if you're sensitive enough not to overlook those small things, you'll be amazed at the big doors beginning to open. I'm not telling you to race toward opportunity. I'm inviting you to live more deeply in each present moment with readiness. You don't need to know exactly what's coming. You just need to keep open space inside, where intuition can speak, where even a glimmer of light is noticed, where the quiet call within you is no longer drowned out by the noise of doubt. In that open space, opportunity will recognize you. And the best part is, you don't need to try to stand out. You only need to be fully present. So if tomorrow a door knocks, whether in familiar or unfamiliar form, will you be ready to open it? Will you dare to believe that you are not only worthy of it, but fully equipped to step through it with confidence? Because what I know is this. You are living in a world of infinite possibilities. They are here, waiting for you to believe, to see, and to step into. No rush, no noise. Just don't close your heart. And when you stop resisting, everything you once hoped for may not arrive like a miracle, but as a natural result of someone finally ready to claim their life. There were dreams that once came to you in quiet nights, when the noise outside paused and something within you spoke up. Maybe it was the image of you living in a home you love, doing work you choose, waking up with a sense of security and abundance, no longer weighed down by survival fears. Or maybe it was a feeling of total freedom, the freedom to dream big, live deeply, and give generously. And when morning came, you folded that dream away and moved on as if you'd never allowed yourself to imagine it. But today, let me whisper this to you, not to comfort you, but to awaken something you may have forgotten. You deserve the wealth you once dreamed of. Not only when you reach a milestone, not when you've been recognized, not when you've become enough by someone else's standard, but right now, in the fullness of who you already are, you carry every condition necessary to receive the abundance you've always longed for. Worthiness isn't something you prove, it's something you acknowledge. And when you dare to claim that worthiness, everything begins to shift. How you think, how you act, and how you open yourself to goodness. I know you've doubted. We've all had years believing wealth was for someone else, for those who were smarter, quicker, better positioned. But here's the truth. Wealth doesn't discriminate. It responds to frequency. When you emit the frequency of lack, life reflects that back to you. But when you choose to radiate abundance, not because you have more, but because you believe more, your life begins to adjust its course. And that's when the wealth you've dreamed of starts finding its way toward you. The wealth you dream of isn't shallow luxury, it's the freedom to live on your terms, the peace of not fearing the future, the ability to help others without sacrificing yourself, the grounded strength to navigate change with grace. And you don't need permission to dream of that. You only need to allow yourself to believe it belongs to you naturally, reasonably, and deservedly. You may have been taught to work hard, to save, to sacrifice, but has anyone taught you how to believe you're worthy? Rarely, because our society often confuses abundance with competition. But look closer. Truly wealthy people don't fight for it. They create it. They live in gratitude. They don't strive to prove themselves. They simply show up as though wealth is the natural state of being. And you can live that way too. You don't need to change the whole world, only the way you see yourself. Every time you reject something good because you feel unworthy, you diminish yourself. Every time you retreat from an opportunity out of fear of judgment, you close a door that might have led to what you once dreamed. Every time you delay investing in yourself out of fear, you signal to the universe that you're not ready. But readiness doesn't come from safety, it comes from a decision. A decision to stop shrinking just because you were once doubted, once failed, once hurt. You deserve wealth, not just financially, but in time, relationships, health, and peace of mind. And that kind of wealth doesn't appear overnight. It arrives gradually every time you choose belief over doubt, action over hesitation, compassion over self-judgment. With every small step you tell life, I am ready to receive what I once only dared to dream. There is a kind of wealth that doesn't begin with having more, but with knowing you are worth more. And that is where you stand right now. You don't have to wait for a new goal to begin living like someone who's abundant. Start today by being kinder to yourself, keeping promises to yourself, not abandoning the dreams that have waited too long. When you live like someone who is worthy, life no longer treats you like someone who lacks. And if you need a reminder, this is it. You don't have to struggle to be worthy. You only need to return to the truth of who you are, where wealth has always lived, within reach, waiting for you to claim it. Don't push it away just because you haven't seen someone like you do it before. Be the first. Be the living proof that what you dream is what you can become, and more importantly, what you truly deserve. The world out there will keep measuring you by outcomes. But only you know how far you've come within, and it's that inner growth that will carry you to the most lasting form of wealth, not just in your bank account, but in your breath, your steps, your daily choices. You don't need to change everything. Just make one decision. From now on, I will no longer doubt my worthiness, because you truly are worthy of everything you once dreamed of, and even more. There are truths the mind resists, yet the soul knows deeply. One of those is the law of reflection, the law that says your outer world is always a mirror of your inner state. If your mind is filled with doubt, chaos, and scarcity, no amount of money will ever feel like enough. But when your inner world is grounded in clarity, gratitude, awareness, and fullness, you live with a sense of abundance, even if your external circumstances are not yet perfect. And inevitably, the outer world begins to shift to align with that inner foundation. We live in an era obsessed with metrics, bank accounts, asset values, career speed. But behind all those numbers lies something rarely discussed, the quality of the person within. You may have everything society defines as success, but if your inner self is barren, anxious, and never satisfied, that wealth is just a beautiful mask over a weary soul. But when you build your wealth from the inside, through thought, emotion, belief, and the way you speak to yourself, everything you touch outside begins to change in a more lasting and human way. I'm not talking about spiritual wealth as a way to avoid talking about money. I'm offering a different approach, one that's deeper and more powerful, a path where you don't just learn how to make money, but how to keep it, grow it, and live peacefully with it. That can't happen if your inner world is still driven by fear, shame, or the desire to prove yourself. When you cultivate inner wealth, you no longer need to prove anything. You show up with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth, and material wealth becomes a natural outcome, not a pressured goal. Where do you start? Start with your thoughts. Every thought is a unit of energy. When you think about money with gratitude, it flows more easily to you. When you approach your work with a spirit of service, better opportunities find you. When you hold faith and compassion toward yourself, you expand your capacity to receive. Your thoughts don't just stay in your head. They shape your words, actions, decisions, and ultimately the life you live. Next comes emotion. You can't build true wealth with a heart in turmoil. Money doesn't trust fear. It flows toward those who know what they're doing and why they're doing it. If you want to attract abundance, you can't just chase goals. You must learn to feel full from within. Even before everything you want arrives, emotion is a magnetic field, and you will never attract anything beyond the vibration you're currently living in. Then comes action. Not all action produces results. Only actions rooted in alignment between clear thought and elevated emotion generate true value. When you act from within, from clarity, gratitude, and faith, the results you create extend beyond income. They become trust, credibility, respect, and those are the foundations of sustainable wealth. Look at your life with gentle awareness. No judgment, just curiosity. What patterns keep repeating? Which relationships drain you? What opportunities are you rejecting without realizing? Does your spending reflect faith or insecurity? The answers are outside, but the clues begin within. And when you dare to look within, not to criticize, but to understand, you've already begun your true wealth journey. Remember, you don't need to chase wealth. You need to become the person that wealth feels at home with. When you're aligned within, the outside world cannot help but respond. When your thoughts are disciplined, your emotions are grounded, and your actions are consistent, the results must match your frequency. That's not magic, that's law. So if today you don't yet see the results, don't lose heart. Don't measure yourself by speed. Measure by depth. Are you living differently? Are you speaking to yourself more kindly? How much fear have you replaced with faith? Because every bit of change is creating a new energetic field, and sooner or later your world will reflect exactly what you've nurtured inside. Building inner wealth isn't the easiest path, but it's the one that can never be lost. Anything you build externally can vanish, but what you cultivate within stays with you for life. And that is the foundation of true prosperity. A wealth not only admirable, but dependable, and most of all, worth living for. No one enters this world with a blueprint of limitation. The patterns of capability or luck are formed later, through environment, through experience, through words repeated, until you unconsciously believe them to be true. But if you're willing to peel back those old beliefs, if you allow yourself to look again at who you truly are, you'll see it clearly. You are a magnet for success, if only you begin to believe that you are. Success is not something distant, nor a reward for a select few. Success is energy, and like any other form of energy in the universe, it moves according to the law of magnetism. You don't have to chase it. You just have to align yourself so that you naturally attract the right things, right people, right timing, right opportunities. The first step is not frantic action, but a quiet shift in belief about yourself. Maybe no one's ever told you that you're magnetic. Maybe you've gotten used to being overlooked, doubted, or underestimated, but what you've been through doesn't define you. What shapes your life is what you choose to believe about yourself from this moment forward. And when you begin to believe that you deserve success, that you hold unique value, that what you bring is one of a kind, you'll notice a quiet yet powerful shift. Life starts responding differently. Think of a magnet. It doesn't shout or prove anything. It simply is, and magnetic things are naturally drawn to it. So are you. When you live in alignment with your true self, when you stop forcing yourself to fit into someone else's mold, when you dare to acknowledge your inner potential and no longer apologize for your light, you begin to attract the right people, the right paths, and the right moments. Not by luck, but because you've stopped resisting the natural power within. I'm not saying belief is all you need, but without it, every other effort falls flat, because belief is the foundation of impactful action. It's what moves you out of your comfort zone, helps you accept risk, and learn from failure without collapsing. Believing in yourself doesn't mean you're always right. It means you're always willing to grow. Everyone who succeeded has doubted themselves. The difference is they didn't let doubt rule the journey. They listened, but didn't obey. They kept moving without full clarity. They acted as if results were close, and so they arrived. If you've ever thought you weren't magnetic enough, not noticeable enough, not impressive enough to attract success, then I invite you to look again, not through someone else's eyes, but through the eyes of awakening. Success doesn't seek perfection. It seeks authenticity, and the more you are true to yourself, without hiding, without pretending, without comparing, the more powerful you become. Magnetism doesn't come from what you try to project. It comes from what you deeply believe, and if that belief is, I am enough, I am powerful, I am unique, then the world has no choice but to reflect that back to you. Start each day with a simple yet stirring question. What am I attracting today through my belief and energy? When you ask this, you'll start noticing your thoughts, your tone, your reactions. You'll fine-tune the smallest things, from your inner dialogue to your posture in the face of challenge. And those small adjustments are how you tune your magnetic field. You don't need to do something big to draw in success. You just need to live each day in alignment with the person you're becoming and the person you choose to express. Success doesn't come to those who need it most. It comes to those who believe they already carry what it takes to receive it. You don't beg for success like a seeker. You walk into it like an owner. You place your hand on the door, not to knock. It was simply waiting for your belief. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need to believe in yourself. You don't need global approval. You need self-alignment. When your belief is strong, deep, and sustained, even when the outside hasn't caught up, you stay at the frequency of someone rising. And what happens when a magnet holds steady in its energy? It pulls everything into its field naturally, precisely, and unstoppably. So starting today, if you've been waiting for something outside to change before you believe in yourself, stop. Don't wait for another sign. You are the sign. That stirring feeling inside you right now is the reminder that you are a magnet for success, if you believe so. And when you do believe, you don't just dream, you act, you create. You live in the vibration of results, and then as a law, not luck, success will find you right on time.